Hello, welcome back to my channel. We're gonna do my wrap up for April today. And at the beginning of the month, I made a little jar because I needed to do a TBR game because I needed some sort of direction for my insanely long, way too long, over 2,000 book TBR. I figure, okay, I'll make some kind of prompts and then that will actually lead me to read. So let's discuss the prompts that I pulled and if I did read said books or not, because then we can determine if this was a successful plan. First, we had booktuber favorite, and I also, in order to further make these easier to see, I then regenerated them in Canva again and I enlarged them. Okay, so first we had a booktuber favorite. Okay, that was one. I was supposed to read The Haunting of Maddie Clare because this was supposed to go with Mara from Books Like Whoa. It was one of her favorite books within the last few years. That was one of her favorite books. So my plan was to read that book. I did not read that book. I also pulled a card for a self-published book. And I said I was going to read Dungeon Crawler Carl. I did not read that book. I also pulled this card for a Libro FM audiobook, and I was going to read I know it's Isabel Cañas. It's the Vampires. I was supposed to read Vampires of El Norte. Didn't read that book either. And then for the romance, I picked up the arguably most hyped book of the year, and I did read 94 pages. So that was somewhat successful. And then I also was supposed to read an LGBT nonfiction book. I literally, obviously you can see the video if you want, I simply took these cards, shook them up, and just picked 5 at random, and I figured I can read 5 books in a month. And I did read 5 books. I just didn't read those 5 books, with the exception of the LGBT nonfiction book. I did read and complete a book that is called Leaving Isn't the Hardest Thing, which is a controversial as hell book. At least it was around the time that it first came out. And for some reason, I found it very interesting that out of the entire conversation of the book, it was never, at least the people that I followed, never seemed to discuss the author's sexuality. Not that they should, not that they need to. I just find that to be an interesting fact because I simply went to my library. When I pulled this, I had absolutely no idea what book I was going to read for this. I just went into Libby and I selected nonfiction, and there's like a way to even narrow it down to LGBT nonfiction. I was like, okay, perfect. And that was one of the most popular books. So I guess controversy does not prevent people from still picking up your books. So, and I would say I enjoyed the book. So I did complete Leaving Isn't the Hardest Thing by Lauren Hugh or Huff, or however you say her name. That is the one book that I completed. And then I did read 3 other books. So I figured we'll just talk about those. Will we get into the reason as to why I did not? I mean, I did read some of the romance book, and hopefully I intend to carry all of these over into May and attempt to still read those. So and I also said in my TBR video that I was going to punish myself if I don't read all of the assigned things, and the punishment is that I have to read a book I'm not excited for. So here we're just going to talk about what I have completed, what I've read in April. In the TBR video, we will get into all of that. So hopefully you'll see me finish this next month and give it a proper review. But obviously, it's the not reading it has nothing to do with the content. It has everything to do with my mindset. So what did I read? I have to look it up. Well, I already discussed Leaving Isn't the Hardest Thing. And then I also finished this book called The Book of Doors, which I don't even know who put it on my radar or what, but it's basically this book that follows mainly this one girl. At the beginning of the book, she is working in a bookstore. We love books about people who work in a bookstore, but she works I think she works at a cafe. She works somewhere and she meets this old man who he has this book. And at the end of her shift, this man, I don't want to spoil what happens exactly, but basically this book ends up in her possession. And it turns out that this book can open any door it seems like it opens any door to a place that she's been before. So she's in New York, but she has previously visited Rome. She can turn the door to her apartment into the door to Rome. And the plot just kind of goes a lot of interesting places. There's some villains that we meet. There's some great friendships in the book. I gave the book 4 stars. I think it was a very well written book. I think it was very intriguing and I super enjoyed it. There's that. And then I also read this book called The Screaming Staircase, which is the first book in I'm not sure if it's middle grade or young adult. I know it's also been adapted into a show on Netflix, but it's like a paranormal mystery. And for me, this was a 3-star read. I just didn't super love the characters. I didn't find the plot super engaging. I'm not sure that it would be, it's not something that I feel super called. I'm definitely not continuing the series. There's just other things that are calling out to me much more at the moment. So I'm not sure. It just wasn't really my vibe, like, which is ironic because I love a paranormal mystery. Like, I love anything mystery, and I love when there's a spooky paranormal element, which is why I was very much looking forward to this. So I'm not sure what possessed me to read a 3-star, like this book that ended up being 3 stars instead. I don't know. There's a lot of, who knows? I don't understand my own brain a lot of the time. So, but I'm not continuing the series. I thought it was mid. I didn't find, I was very in and out. 3 stars, definitely, there was some enjoyable aspects to it, but it wasn't, it was nothing. There was this phrase that I feel like, I don't know who introduced me to it or who used to say it, but it was nothing to go run and tell mom about. It was nothing astronomical, it was nothing amazing. So it was, it was mid. And then before that, I'm not going in order at all of how I read these things, by the way. I also kind of like jumped in and out of all these different books because I am a mood reader and I am trying to fight the mood. I think if I could just get a little bit of structure to my reading, I would actually read. So I'm trying to get myself to do that. But I did also, I will technically finish at the end of March, but it's The Deal by Elle Kennedy, which I had no idea was being adapted. I actually read this because this is a book that has over 1 million ratings, which is crazy to me because I gave the book 4 stars and I enjoyed the book. I thought it was a good book. And this is a series I might pop in and out of. I might want to continue it, but it's Audible exclusive, so I'm not sure. I don't really want to support that. I only got it because I wanted to read a book with over 1 million ratings as part of this like ongoing project I'm trying to do. And I really liked the romance. I really liked the characters. I really liked the male love interest a lot. I would be thrilled for him to be my man. So like that is, I guess that's one of my, that's part of my like test for a romance book to get a rating for me is like, would I want that man to be my man or not? And in this case, the answer is yes. So I like the book. I also like the couple together. I think they're a great couple. I think they bring out like good traits in each other. And also I just think it was hot. Like it was just a hot romance. So I think I will watch the show and just kind of engage with the story in that way because I won't have to purchase more Audible credits that I will use. Hopefully I was supposed to read Dungeon Crawler Carl. So hopefully I already own it on audio, which everyone says you're supposed to read it on audio because it's so amazing. So I need to actually do that. But yeah, that is all the books that I read in the end of March into April. So let me know if you've read them, if you plan to read them, if you have any tips or tricks for how to structure a TBR and actually follow through with it. Let me know. But otherwise, I will leave my Instagram, Goodreads, and TikTok in the description for you to check out if you'd like. Otherwise, have a great day. Bye.